Morning, everybody. We're here to show you the new advancements on the Cerner EKG or ECG reader. First of all, I did want to talk a little bit about what hasn't changed. What hasn't changed is the way you're going to get to this window. So whether you're going through CVNet or opening these from FirstNet or from PowerChart, you'll access the ECG in the exact same way. What has changed significantly is the way that the tracing is displayed here. It will always take up a full screen now with no need to adjust the size of the ECG tracing. Also, all of the interpretation has been separated into a area of its own here at the top. Once you've opened the ECG, as I've already done here, you do have your patient profile on the left there that you can minimize if you want to maximize the amount of room for your actual ECG tracing. First, we'll talk about how to place an interpretation on the ECG. One of the biggest changes that Cerner's made is the way that we're actually going to place our read on these ECGs. Just like in previous versions, there will be a computer-generated read, as you can see here, that's already included in the interpretation window. If I want to change any of this, I can simply click up here and highlight it and delete it. We're now going to be using a smart text interpretation when we read our EKGs. So as I start typing, in the background, the computer is using an algorithm to decide what the most frequent things I would want put into my ECG read. So if I type SR, it gives me a drop down here of several other options. I can either use the arrows to go through and select these different options and hit enter, and it'll put that statement into my ECG interpretation. If I just start typing R, it brings down the most frequently used terms. Again, I can either use the arrows or I can just use my mouse and select one of these, and it'll put that directly into my interpretation. This smart text interpretation works like a Google Smart Text and will add whatever is most frequently used. So as we use this going forward, it'll learn what our most common interpretations are, and these will be the first ones displayed. You can also just continue typing and ignore the smart text window altogether. You can also just drag into this area, as in previous versions, to add your interpretation. Once you have your the other thing that has also changed is the way we view comparison ECGs. So to view a comparison ECG, you will press either the compare button or the comparison icon right here. This automatically has pulled in the most recent ECG. This one from Wednesday, 10/29, is the one you see displayed here now in blue. The read from the prior ECG is displayed here in this blue box. This box can be selected and drag to a different area of the tracing so that it does not obscure my tracing. I can also hit the small black arrow here to shrink the prior interpretation down so that I won't have it in my way as I view these comparisons. When I click the compare box right here, this now brings in a computer-generated comparison read, comparing my currently selected EKG to the comparison EKG, which is the one I have, the little checkbox here. Again, if I don't like this comparison, I can delete it and change it. This box also acts as a smart text window, so as I start typing, if I just type R, I get various selection drop-downs that I can select and make a comparison very quickly. Previous iterations of this viewer have allowed you to make multiple comparisons by clicking multiple comparison EKGs up here, and this would have automatically added these readings into our comparison list. In our current iteration, it will only compare the ECG that is being viewed in the blue here. So that will now be this one from 8:43. In order to, again, you see the ECG here, you see what was the read here, that this was a confirmed read by myself back in November 3rd. If I don't want to see that read, I can minimize it here. The computer will not automatically generate a computer comparison for you, but if you wish to add one, you simply hit compare, and it will add additional comparison for this other EKG that we are now viewing in comparison to the one we are reading, which is the black. As you can see in older versions, this comparison would have bled onto our tracing, but now it is all contained in the box here, and we can scroll through this to view further comparisons and information. The other thing that has changed is the conclusion statement and the fact that this is an unconfirmed, not signed report are now separate entities here. These used to just be at the end of every ECG read. As far as the conclusion statement, you can see that we can break this down and change this to say whatever we want. Also, the unconfirmed report will change once we actually go ahead and sign or review this EKG. A few more changes to review. We'll get rid of our comparison box for now. And we will talk about how we are going to use the zoom functionality. In the old zoom functionality, it would zoom the entire ECG. Now when we hit the magnifying glass here, or our zoom, you see we get a focused zoom window. This can be resized using the mouse scroll bar to fit whatever zoom capability you're looking for. Another significant change is the caliper functionality. The old caliper functionality would need you to turn it on and off. In our current state, I'm going to turn my zoom off here. It is simply always on, and if you left click, it starts a caliper, and as you drag, that caliper will expand until you let go. You can also have multiple calipers, both vertical and horizontal, at once. The other nice function of this caliper is that it does work inside our zoom window. So even when I'm zoomed here, if I just simply left click, my caliper functionality works. When I take the zoom off, there's the caliper I just placed. On the calipers, if I've placed a caliper and I right click, you do have various options here to remove the calipers. You can use these calipers to set your ventricular rate, which you see up here is 52 beats a minute, but if I use this and click there, it has changed this now to 59 beats per minute. You can also use these calipers to march out to see what the underlying rhythm actually is. There is some further functionality here with the settings menu. As you can see, I can change the gain as well as the filters, which is sometimes useful in viewing the ECG, all from the settings box right here. These will stick between ECGs as you are reading, so each individual can set their preferences however they want. Once I am done and I have fully read my ECG, I have my comparisons in here. I would sign this just like I previously did by hitting sign and close. Once we have our signed ECG, we can reopen it. And you can see that now this unconfirmed has changed to a sign. This is now locked, and I cannot overread these just as in previous versions. But as you can see with this extensive read, what would have used to have bled onto our ECG tracing is now nicely contained up in this area. So that concludes the tour of the new ECG viewer. I hope you all enjoy it. Have a